We're almost there.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, we are live. We are almost there.
So we're live? Yes, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll call this meeting to order at 7:03. Okay, thank you all for attending. Appreciate y'all being here. Let's go ahead into our agenda for today. Okay, so approval of the, okay, my bad. Okay, so are there any amendments to the agenda? Either.
Can we please strike the Bruin Advocacy Grant allocations, please?
Perfect. Janice?
Could we strike the SWC programming fund?
Thank you. Okay, Alicia?
Could we please strike ARC allocations?
Yep. Evan?
Can we please strike TGIF?
Okay. Lucy?
Can we please strike capital contingency and contingency programming?
Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Jiying?
Hi, could we please strike SFS allocations, please? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Jonathan?
I motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Jonathan motions, Cheating seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. All right, with a vote of 12 to 0, the agenda is approved for today. Okay, so approval of the minutes. Sydney, thank you for getting the minutes draft to us so soon. I appreciate it. So the minutes from our last meeting, which was September 12th. Hope everybody got a chance to look over those. Was there anything that needed to be changed, edited at all? Are we all good? And if so, can I have a motion? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our September 12th meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the September 12th meeting.
Second.
Sarah motions, Eva seconds. All in favor, please use your hand. All right, please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstaining, please raise your hands. All right, with a vote of 12 to 0, the minutes from our September 12th meeting have been approved. So that is all good. Okay, so now we'll be opening up public comment at 7:06. Briefly before that, just remember, according to Article 6, Section A, public comment section is meant for members of the association. That means undergraduates at UCLA who wish to address the council on agenda items. The council will limit comments to 2 minutes per speaker and 30 minutes per entire section. Time shall be kept by me, and then no speaker may yield their time to another public comment speaker. Okay, and with that, if you are here for public comment, I go ahead and raise your hands. Okay, give me one moment. Okay, and go ahead, let's start with Roger.
Hello, everybody. My name is Roger Gaughan. I'm a rising junior and environmental science major and a member of the DSU. I'm speaking today about the COVID-19 resolution. The resolution is incredibly meticulous. Looks like the resolution is incredibly meticulous with 62 citations and has demonstrated an unbelievable amount of support from the student body. The list of supporting organizations alone, given not only their numbers, but their diversity of mission and makeup, and how much of the undergraduate student body they represent should all but guarantee the resolution should pass. I know that any discussion of COVID is fraught and difficult, but I would urge the council members to truly examine the data as opposed to the propagandized narrative of normal that is constantly pushed on us. All this in mind, it is obvious to me that it is imperative of USAC to pass this resolution. While there will be pushback for doing so, I urge you not to let this stop you. There will be pushback for failing it as well, and that pushback will be accompanied by genuine danger. I had COVID-19 in May of 2022 and was only able to receive what little safety and comfort I did because of UCLA's isolation housing, which has now been drastically decreased. Despite having a mild case of COVID and relatively mild long COVID, my health has never been the same, and I would never want even this much for others. When critics look back at the decisions made here tonight, I can only hope and pray that they will accuse us of being overcautious or that we cared too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. I appreciate it. Okay, Rainer, please correct me if I said that wrong.
You're good. That was correct. Hi, I'm Rainer. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the editor-in-chief of Outright News Magazine, which is UCLA's queer news magazine, if you don't know us. I'm also here to support the COVID-19 resolution on behalf of Outright. It's a simple thing that prioritizes people's health and safety and a great way to stand in solidarity with vulnerable populations. I think that showing care for all of the UCLA community is very important and to make sure that everyone feels safe and cared for. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Rainer. Okay, Sarah, next.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm with Students for Socialism here on campus, and I wanted to express my organization's support for USAC's resolution to strengthen UCLA's COVID response. Especially in reaction to rising COVID infection rates, it's imperative that we react accordingly. No student should have to endanger their health in order to access education, especially at a school such as UCLA, which, as we know, certainly has the resources it would need to continue protecting its student body. Students for Socialism stands in solidarity with USAC and all other supporting organizations in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Teji, please correct me if I said that wrong.
Hi, my name is Ty. I use they, them pronouns. I'm an RA for Hedrick Hall. I wanted to, again, echo support for the COVID-19 resolution. I'm an RA in a classic triple building, which means in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be interacting with hundreds and hundreds of residents. And I, attempted to get PCR testing and things like that to ensure the safety of myself, my residents, my coworkers, everyone in this building and in our community. And I wasn't able to receive a test where I could test anywhere on the Hill. I would have to return that test to Poly Pavilion. And I think that just creates a huge barrier and a huge disincentive for students to test. Whereas before I was able to test weekly or even more frequently and just ensure the safety of myself and my community. So I'm extremely concerned about this, as well as the lack of isolation housing and things like that. Meaning if I were to get sick, even though I have my own room and I'm not able to isolate, I would still have to use communal restrooms. I would still have to use communal dining halls. And so, I just want to echo lots of support for this resolution. Again, it's so thorough, like Roger said, and there's so many student organizations who are behind this. And in general, throughout history, student organizing has really made it possible for radical change to happen on university campuses. And I think this is an opportunity for us to be at the forefront of promoting safety and wellness for students in the country. We might be doing too much, but we definitely don't want to be doing not enough. And I think this resolution is just going to keep us on the right side of history. So I urge you to support it.
Thank you, Ty, and sorry for the mispronunciation. Okay, next will be Eliana.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. So a student currently, I was y'all's Gen Rep last year, and just want to echo folks have been saying about how important things like paid sick time and isolation housing is, and how y'all need to be advocating for that, both on the decision you'll be making today and throughout your time in USAC. And also just want to express my appreciation for a lot of awesome people, but especially Tyra Cobbs with the work she's been doing on supporting the disabled community, the Jewish community, representing us at the UC Regents, as well as her regular work as TSR and chairwoman of the African Students Union. She's awesome. And I see you. I love you. And just want to put that out there because all the stuff that we're going to be dealing with tonight, she's been doing amazing work on it. Love y'all.
Thank you. Okay. And then Layla.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay? Just making sure. Great. I spoke at the last meeting, so I'm thankful that you or the USAC government decided to have this emergency meeting. I'm a fourth year student. I am an ASUCLA worker. We are getting ready for the new school year. And I am extremely worried about the lack of COVID safety. I'm just going to call it mandates because it is really just protecting the safety of students and faculty. Again, ASUCLA student workers are working usually to pay off bills, but we do not get sick pay if we are out sick with COVID or any other illness. We are always understaffed. And then we also have to deal with constantly ill customers complaining that we're understaffed, and just very horribly ironic. Also, I am worried about the lack of accommodations that UCLA has offered to students and faculty who are out with COVID and have to worry about whether or not they're going to get incompletes, whether or not that they're going to take this class again. It adds on to the stress of when they're supposed to be focusing on their healing and resting while dealing with this illness. So that's about it for me. I'm very much in support of this resolution, the COVID-19 resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Layla. All right, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Public comment is closed at 7:15. All right, thank you for folks for coming out. Definitely appreciate hearing your voices in this conversation. Okay, going to funding just because there were 2 things that we weren't able to strike out. But ASRF allocations, there were no allocations as Sujana is not here at the moment. And then AAC travel mini grant allocation, there are no allocations for the same reason. Okay, there are no special presentations, there are no appointments. Brief officer report from me kicking us off. And then since it's a special meeting, only president, internal vice president, and external vice president are on here for officer reports. Just putting that out there. As for some things that have been going on, so I finished and submitted my tree bearing welcome speech. We're meeting with me and my team are meeting with some collaborators for week 0 events. We had our first meeting today for the UCLA Downtown Programming Charge Meeting Committee. So it was mostly intros, but planning our visit to the downtown building and discussing process for proposals. Me and Evan had a meeting earlier this week, being yesterday, with the Campus Facilities Coordinating Commission. That was mostly introductions to as these committees are just starting to begin meeting, and hearing about things that are occurring in the Westwood community and updates for various sports events, and got to touch base with Mick about a potential event that we will be trying to put on later in the school year. I met with Sonia and Eva last week to discuss some pertinent things that we'll be continuing to have conversations about. Met with Lori in Orlando. Also at the recent North Carolina and UCLA football game, I got to interact with Monroe, Darnett Hunt, and other amazing Black alumni to discuss my vision for this year and potential future collaborations. So always a good time. My office, we made a reservation, Kirkhoff reservation for 4/17. And just another reminder for folks that are here, the deep clean will be occurring on the 25th and 26th in prep for our USAC open house. So just a reminder for that. That doesn't apply to CAC. CAC let us know that they would not like their room to be deep cleaned. But for other folks, make sure you are able to tidy stuff around so that they can vacuum the floors, deep clean, and other things. And that will be it for me. Megan, I don't know if you want to say anything aloud.
I'll say a little bit. Yesterday and today are conducted 6 interviews, and we have 9 more scheduled for tomorrow, Saturday, and Monday. The schedule for those ARC interviews are in the USAC Slack. We will be scheduling more for the USAC meeting on week 0 and week 1. The IVP office is sending out our acceptances for our general staff, and we will be opening our internship application soon. We're preparing materials for EAF and the USAC open house. And we're also thinking about creating like a USAC like brochure to like have an introduction to USAC for like incoming students. Let me know if you would like to work on that. I met with Tyra on Monday to plan a sole workshop for transfer students to learn about how to like create their own organization. And we're meeting with Sol tomorrow as well. And I would like to remind council that on next Monday, we have our monthly meeting with VC Michael Beck.
Okay, Eva. Is Eva here?
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. My team's been pretty busy this week. Our local relations team has been really amazing in discussing some more plans for the Allied Attendance Union collaboration. We're making a survey by tomorrow that should go up on social media to see, what renters of Westwood, would like to learn and improve their awareness of, renters' rights, that kind of thing. Our state relations team has been brainstorming legislators to target. Where they're doing some lobby trainings this past week and brainstorming ways to support CalFresh and the expansion of that in preparation for a big state district lobbying push. With the federal relations team, they've been mainly focusing on and brainstorming a tour that we're trying to organize with Rep. Ted Lieu. We're planning on having a Q&A with him and taking him on a tour to see various underfunded areas on campus, to be determined when that is, but our target date is like November 3rd, so circle that in your calendars. Also, this upcoming weekend, our EVP fellowship application is opening. So if you know anyone who is just recently admitted to UCLA or have any USAC experience, but is interested in advocacy and potentially getting involved in USAC, I highly encourage you to encourage them to apply to our fellowship. Also, 2 days ago was National Voter Reg Day, so Bruins Vote did a big push with that. They're tabling at EAF, super excited to build that back up again. Our student relations team had our first Bruin Advocacy Grant intro meeting with that committee. They also have been super busy this week. They met with UCLA Housing, ASUCLA Upper Admin, I believe, and some other like transportation folks around campus dealing with a bunch of our platforms. And I'm really excited to see what is made of those conversations. I also met with Sujana and Chia-Ying, I think it was last week actually, in discussing the 195 CE internship courses, continuing to write that sign on. And obviously the biggest thing was that the UC Regents meetings were this past week. They ended today. We had EVP office members every day at like every committee meeting. So I was really impressed by our turnout there. We'll be publishing reports on the committee, like any decisions that were made, anything interesting, hopefully next week or the week after. And so please, when that comes out, please take a look at it. It definitely has really big implications for what work we do and what work UCLA as a whole does. So I'm super proud of their effort there. And I think that is all for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and now moving forward to the topic of why I called this emergency meeting. We'll be talking about a resolution to mandate masking, weekly PCR testing, and COVID-19 vaccines, and to improve ventilation and reinstate the COVID-19 task force. Before jumping into this discussion, I would just like to remind council of just some community guidelines that have been said throughout the years of USAC. To begin with, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. That actually came from a Cultural Affairs Commission, past commission. Debate ideas, not people. Keep professional issues separate from USAC business. Your words do have impacts. Be mindful about the tone of the chat. You are on public record that exists in perpetuity, and that record can follow you where you go in the future. Members should retain their vote and vote yes, no, or abstain. Abstain does not equal voting no. Abstaining is best when you don't have enough information or there's a conflict of interest. Okay, and with that, I'm turning the stage to, I see on here we have Alicia under the resolution, but also opening up for discussion.
Would you like me to share my screen?
Sure. Do we have access to, yeah, someone will give access.
Let me do that right now. I think. Okay, it should work.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I have to read over it if you all read over it and you were present at the last meeting, unless anyone wants to. Gwendolyn from DSU is here, I think.
Yes, I can promote her.
Well, advisors, do both need to be. Sorry, what was the question? So, council, do y'all feel like you need to look over, reread the resolution? Yes, no, maybe.
I think I already read it.
Same.
So do we want to promote?
Could we promote her in case she might not be here to read it? She might maybe like here to just say something.
Okay.
Okay, hi, can y'all hear me? Yes, no?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I hope everybody got a chance to read over it. I just wanted to also like be here in case people had questions and so also like, directly respond in this discussion. 'Cause this resolution isn't like exactly the same as the previous one, which I hope people realize after reading over it. There are updated numbers and a couple newer things that were language was changed, so just wanted to put that out there. And yeah, I am obviously here for the discussion.
Okay, council members, are there any direct questions to Gwen? Adam.
Yeah, hey, thank you for writing this. I just wanted to ask, how feasible do you think the things in this resolution are? And to what extent do you think they will actually be implemented? And did that change how you wrote the resolution at all?
Sorry, what was that last part that you said?
Did you thinking if they're going to be implemented change how you wrote the resolution or what you wrote in the resolution?
You mean from the last meeting to this meeting?
No, in general. Like, do you think the resolution is feasible, and is your opinion on that? Did your opinion on that change what you put in the resolution?
I think I'm having trouble trying to figure out how to answer that because I'm not sure if you mean by like, I mean, me writing the resolution and wanting to present it kind of is a reflection of what I think UCLA should be able to do. But like I'm not sure what is of like how quickly it would be implemented or like what steps we need to get there. I feel like those are separate, if that makes sense. Janice, notable updates that have been made to the present version. Sure, I can try to point some out. I also was hoping that people were also reading over it closely enough and also, but I can also point it out. Let's see. Well, one of the main things that I wanted to change in the language is that talking about the upcoming vaccines as vaccines. Oh yes, the supporting orgs grew quite a lot. So you can see the supporting orgs here. We got some even more orgs that were able to sign on. So that's one really big change, which is great. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, there should be a place where, okay, yes, so stop, right there, yeah. So the place where it says the new vaccine is meant to replace the initial primary series of vaccination for COVID-19, since the immunity provided from the initial primary series has waned enough to be not effective enough against the new variants. And so like this new vaccine is therefore not a booster. So I added that section and cited my source for that as the FDA, as they made a presentation about that, an announcement about that as well, where this new COVID vaccine is not to be considered a booster. So I changed that language within the resolution to reflect that and to make sure that it's talked about as a vaccine, as the CDC has also recommended that the public, when not medically exempt and within certain age guidelines, receive the new vaccine, and they're specifically calling it vaccine and not booster in recognition of what FDA said. So there's that. There is also, let me see, there's also an additional, like right below that, you can see I added another, oh, right there, yes. That paragraph, I added that paragraph, which says, I'll read it out loud if nobody objects. Whereas the University of California, Los Angeles, as well as the UC-wide system, already requires an annual influenza vaccination, as well as tuberculosis screening, measles, mumps, Tdap, rubella, and varicella, which is chickenpox, vaccinations for all of its constituents. And the UC system has required COVID-19 vaccinations in the past, along with religious and medical exemption. And so that's, just putting it in the resolution concretely, though I did bring it up in the previous meeting, but I just wanted to put it out there and cite it as well. And there should also be another, yes, okay. So if you scroll down, if you keep scrolling down, it should be, yes, it should be page 5. Whichever page 5 is, I think, page 5, yeah. So right there where it says, whereas BIPOC make up close to 65% of UCLA's undergraduate population alone, and therefore most of UCLA's undergraduate population is at heightened risk, just based off of demographic data alone. And then I cited that, so that is a recent change that, as I'm sure many of you saw, was cited within the DSU's different posts and emails that went out to USAC, as well as mentioned in the previous meeting, but the source itself had not been cited on paper. So I made that change. And I also made a change to the paragraph right below that, adding a section that says, and as a reminder, 7 to 10% more of the US population is expected to become infected in the next 6 weeks, cited in a previous paragraph, meaning when you do the math breakdown, 2% of the entire US population will be permanently disabled, AKA 6.7 million people becoming permanently disabled from COVID-19 and needing longer term care just within the next 6 weeks alone in the United States. And I cited that source. Let's see. And then there's another section. Let's see, I'm just, give me 1 second, I'm finding the page. Okay. Yes, so if we scroll down to the Let It Be Resolved section on page 9, I did change some of the language there. So at the very start of the Let It Be Resolved section, we have that paragraph, and then that should be all the same. The next paragraph should be, and then here, you can see where I'm highlighting that whole paragraph here. So I updated the language here, as I previously mentioned, to say COVID-19 vaccinations, and mentioned that as UCLA has mandated COVID-19 vaccinations in the past already, and I added this section to provide the vaccines to their constituents at little to no cost, significantly less than $150, as I'm not sure if many people are aware, but these new vaccines are supposed to be covered by certain types of insurance. But when people pay out of pocket, they are around $190, which is not accessible enough in the immediate short term for many people, as well as there being many issues with vaccine rollout currently right now, where insurance companies have not updated what is called their CPT codes to reflect when people file to have the vaccine covered by insurance. And that has not been updated within, companies like CVS, Walgreens, et cetera. And this section was also added because within this resolution it's been clear that UCLA should be providing as many resources as it can to its students. So then if the CDC is officially recommending that people get these vaccinations, UCLA should be doing everything in its power to make sure that people have adequate, accessible access to those vaccinations. And then you can see lower here, it says that, it mostly lists all the same there. And then if you scroll down, let me see. There should be a section. Sorry, one moment. I'm just trying to find the section that I was thinking of that I changed. Oh, I don't know. Oh, actually, no, I think this was on here as well before, but the takeout dining options, that was there before. There should be one more section where I cited a very specific quote, and I believe it might have actually been at the top. Oh, okay, yes, sorry. So if you go up to page 7, back up to page 7. So at page 7, I just wanted to reiterate the previous, it had been in the previous resolution as well, but just to reiterate, I expanded the quote in this paragraph here that says, as mentioned by the US EPA, transmission of COVID-19 from inhalation of virus in the air can occur at distances greater than 6 feet. Particles from an infected person can move throughout an entire room or indoor space. These particles can also linger in the air after a person has left the room. They can remain airborne for hours in some cases. And so that is relevant for ventilation. And if let's see, we scroll back up here. Okay, yes. So if we scroll back up to page 3, this is this was the 7 to 10% that I was citing. So this paragraph here where it says, whereas wastewater levels of COVID-19 are extremely high in the United States at large, where US COVID infections are hovering near levels of the pandemic's first peak in 2020 and approaching the Delta peak of late 2021, according to wastewater surveillance and modeling by forecasters. Viral wastewater levels are not far behind all of the pandemic's 2020 peaks, except for one, the initial peak of March 2020, which they've already surpassed. And they lag just slightly behind levels seen during the deadly Delta peak of late 2021, according to BioBot Analytics, which monitors such data for the federal government. A forecast issued this week by Jay Weiland, a leading COVID modeler, came to the same conclusions. On Thursday, Weiland estimated that 650,000 Americans are becoming infected daily, with 1 in 51 Americans currently infected with COVID. An additional 7 to 10% of the US population will be infected over the next month and a half, Weiland predicted. And at the peak of testing and reporting, the CDC still estimated that only approximately 25% of COVID-19 cases were reported. So that section I added and cited there just as representation of what wastewater data means. I think a lot of people don't really understand what wastewater testing and wastewater data really is supposed to be representing, since it's not as easily digestible. So I wanted to find that source and put that in there to make it more, readily understandable to the general populace with these estimations that really do not look good. So yes, those are the changes that I am thinking of right now. If anybody else sees any differences between the previous resolution and this one, happy to discuss those as well. But yeah, does anyone have any questions about those changes?
Any questions? Jonathan?
Hi, yes. More than anything, I have two comments with this. First, I'd like to go to page 9 at that last portion, specifically where it says recognize that the mother organizations are advocating for representation for all of us and advocate for respective communities, so on and so forth. I do not necessarily appreciate the lack of Latinx representation on this, specifically with the citation of Micha de UCLA being the only Latinx organization present there, considering that Latinx students make up around 21% of the student population. I think, and given that that organization has been called out multiple times by multiple Latinx organizations for its lack of inclusivity, I just wish there would have been a bit more communication with different Latinx organizations with regards to his resolution, just because myself being a Central American and not fully being represented by Micha de UCLA, I think it'd be really important to have further reached out to other organizations just to spread the awareness of this. And secondly, I would like to delegate back to Adam's question about the feasibility, just because I feel that that question was not adequately answered.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for your comments. In terms of what you're talking about not feeling adequately represented by Mecha, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. And we did have ideas on here in the previous resolution. We did try to reach out to them and they did not reach out to us before. And then we also had a couple other people that we really tried to reach out to that did not really respond in time. Part of the challenge that we've been facing in the DSU in terms of like trying to get the word out is, especially for something like this, where it's a revised resolution and then people have to re-vote on it in their separate organizations, is trying to get them to re-vote, or if they're not responding to communication, which obviously isn't, necessarily like an excuse. It's more so like an explanation of like DSU made several posts and announcements about the resolution on their page, and we're trying to think of people and brainstorm organizations to reach out to. We did try to reach out to different people in the mother orgs, and then we did try to reach out to a number of other people who unfortunately did not respond in time or did not see our messages. So I definitely hear you. If we could, I would love to have as much support on this resolution as possible, of course. Like I would love people to, be really confident in seeing their identities represented on this resolution. And, I'm so sorry that you feel like that's not the case for you. And I'm definitely open to hearing feedback on how DSU can try to expand their communications even more. But of course, communication is that two-way street, and a lot of it actually relies, like, for example, on Instagram's algorithm, which is something DSU can't control. So yeah. And then in terms of feasibility, I think that also has to do a lot with USAC. I think that each individual USAC member has a lot of responsibility and a lot of power where they can take, I'm sure that you saw in the email that was sent out to all of USAC, how each member has a different role and they have different things that they can do even outside of if this resolution doesn't pass, or even if it does, like things that they separately can set into motion. Like just like as an example, like for example, facility has so many different things that they have to do, right? Of course, but they also have very direct connections to admin that, for example, the DSU themselves do not have. So each one of you in your roles have these connections that the DSU really wants you guys to be proactive about. In terms of specific feasibility of these items, I think that a lot of things that in this resolution that we're asking for are things that some things were already present and then UCLA took them away. So like, I know that they can put them back. Like the PCR testing and the isolation housing, like those are things that they took away that I like definitely know they can put back. And like the distribution of masks, expanding the distribution of masks, I don't think is honestly going to be as much of an issue. And correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like people's questions on feasibility perhaps have more to do with specifically the ask about masks and specifically the ask about vaccines, which is what was brought up in the last meeting. So if anyone wants to offer clarification on that, I'd be happy to respond. But for now, like in general, I really do believe that like all of these things are feasible. I think people just have to be extremely proactive about like advocating on behalf of the student body to admin, and also being able to directly talk to admin about this and present these demands. And part of why this resolution exists is it is a jumping off point, it's a starting point for us to have these conversations with admin.
Katie?
Hi, thank you for coming back with this resolution. So in terms of feasibility, I just wanted to ask if you had a cost estimate by any chance, because I know that we really want to make sure that if when this gets brought to admin that, you know, like we've thought through. So I don't know, I just was curious about like how much you think this is going to cost UCLA. Because I think that like, you know, when you look back at the PCR testing that they had and the COVID housing that they also provided, those are, I think, like a temporary solution to bring us back to school. So no, I was just wondering if you had a cost estimate by any chance.
Yeah, so quite frankly, I do not have a cost estimate because that is not something that I think that I would ever be able to provide without consulting admin. I don't think that I would be able to know that unless I had direct access to finance. And, you know, we do have a person who is the finance commissioner on USAC. So do you know what do you know what I'm trying to say? Essentially, like USAC has like a whole bunch of people in different roles that have direct connections to admin in their roles. And I think that like if we want to try to build like a semblance of what the budget will look like for these different items, I am totally down to do that. Like that's actually something that I do want to do, but it's kind of hard for me to present that in the resolution because like unless I see what UCLA said that they've spent on that like previously, there's not really a way for me to know that. So I would be happy to be involved in that conversation, but kind of the point is to make sure that admin know and everybody knows that like in passing this resolution, we want these things to happen first. Yeah.
Katie, good.
I would just say, yeah, because when I was looking at the resolution, I was also curious how much it costs, and it is definitely difficult to find out everything. I did look at the PCR testing just because I think that's kind of a concern for me. I mean, I do think that I know that they offer it, you know, like at Poly and the Ash Center, but I think that if we made it available to students, just I think one PCR, because I know like when I have gotten PCR tested and I have to pay for it, so I think it's like $100, but I think UCLA could probably get a discounted rate like $35. But then
sorry. I was just that was action.
yeah, I was just saying I think they can get a discounted rate at $35, but like just in general, this is just like one calculation I was just thinking of. But like if hypothetically, if every student at UCLA took a PCR test at $35, it would be over $1 million per week to you know, be able to do all those testings that UCLA would have to pay, that of course like would come out of the student pockets. But I don't know, just in general, I think like that's just something to think about just in this resolution about how costly it might be, and just in general, just you know, just kind of acknowledging the fact that like these funds are definitely gonna come from somewhere. I also don't know where they would come from, but you know, just that's just a thought I just wanted to ask about.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, can I respond real quick, Tara? Sorry, I was just gonna say to Katie. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I guess you paid out of pocket to get a PCR from Ash. This whole time, actually, UCLA has been offering free PCR tests through the vending machines that through like vending machines on campus and distribution at different drop-off sites, including the Hill, that have been free for students. Part of that system has also been that UCLA has been consistently giving each student or staff, faculty, anybody with a Bruin card to like quote unquote like $2 that specifically only work at these vending machines, and then they can get essentially like 2 PCRs a week, only if they use the vending machines, right? Because there's also like baskets of them, for example, at the Denev front desk, which I don't know if many people know about that, but like they're outside the vending machines. So like if your Bruin card doesn't work, you can just grab that. But yeah, like these vending machines have been here for years now on campus.
And it was before she went to UCLA.
Oh, okay.
And that's okay. Thank you. Tara.
I think just to kind of respond to like the financial feasibility of all of this, I think that we should keep in mind that UCLA is a institution that handles billions of dollars. The UC system at large, and being at the UC Regents this weekend, it just goes to show like they will say that they don't have funding for all these different things, but they always do have funding. Like just like they have helicopters flying around the sky, that they have like they are able to pay for $500,000 raises for people in the UC Regents. Like they have funding for things like this. They just don't want to fund things like this, which is kind of concerning. And so that's why DSU is here with this resolution. So I don't think that finances on UCLA's behalf is a concern, especially when UCLA has several donors who donate millions of dollars to the institution, and they could find that money to run Spark campaigns to raise money if they don't have it, which I believe that they do.
Thank you. Okay. I had a question. Gwen, as being one of the DSC representatives here, I was made aware that there was an email sent out to those that voted yes on the last USAC meeting. And there was supposed to be a meeting scheduled with those folks to kind of go over the resolution and revise. And then a separate meeting was supposed to be scheduled with those that abstained. Did either of those meetings ever occur?
Yeah, so the meeting like the meeting with the people who voted yes was in an attempt to like brainstorm, and then the meeting that meeting, like I held the meeting but people didn't really show up. Like people
Sorry to hear
didn't,
that.
yeah, so I mean, like, well, and then I just kind of sat there and spent the rest of the time revising the resolution on my own. And then I was trying to like figure out a way to schedule the meeting with the people who abstained. And I do wish that I had been able to schedule that, but it really like I had literally been working 24/7 on just writing the resolution itself and like revising it. And then by the time we were gonna schedule the meeting with people who abstained, then the emergency meeting was announced. And I was like, oh. So it definitely is something that I wish that I had been able to do, because I really do value being able to speak to each USAC representative. So I wish I had been able to do that, but also like I genuinely ended up not really meeting with people. So like because people didn't really respond.
No, thank you for bringing that to light. So sorry, I wasn't included on that email, so I didn't know what had occurred or not. I think that would have been a valid thing to bring up, because basically for in my instance, I just want to say as DSU as an organization, I think it's, especially if you're calling on me to do something such as calling an emergency meeting, I would appreciate a direct email, because I had folks telling me from Instagram, I'm not on Instagram 24/7 with the statement before finding out a few days later with the direct email that y'all sent. So if I had known that y'all were trying to schedule a meeting with folks that had said yes last time, and then folks that had abstained, I could have either helped coordinate efforts, or we could have maybe pushed back the emergency meeting till Friday, because we had the same amount of quorum. So just keep that in mind in future conversations for discussing things with organizations.
For sure. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, it's kind of difficult for me to know exactly what permissions people have in terms of like what they're supposed to know. And it was definitely like I actually was planning to send out the email like same day as the post. But then I guess it didn't end up happening. Lots of things on like kind of the whole like me writing a lot of things and trying to organize a lot of things on my end as being one of the main organizers of this. So yeah, definitely I'll keep that in mind in the future, and I will make sure that the rest of DSU knows that as well. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other comments, concerns? Janice?
Yeah, regardless of the outcome of the resolution, I will say that I will reach out to the IDMT and ask them for like a outline of exactly who funded and how they funded the vending machine and PCR testing systems, because I remember from one of the first meetings I was able to sit in on that some of those things stopped not because like they wanted to stop, but because like the federal government or like because things were like not a state of emergency anymore and things like that. At like the local government level they stopped funding those things, especially some of the data to like they lost access to it because it was no longer funded. So that makes me concerned as to how much, like for example what we were talking about, like the vending machines could be re-implemented. I completely see like the need of those things being available, but it might be a new system, like a new approach to re-implement. It might not be super easy, but I think it's a good point that was brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I don't think any of this is going to be like smooth sailing. Obviously, the fact that we're having a second emergency meeting kind of shows that it hasn't been smooth sailing for this whole thing. But I definitely appreciate you bringing up that you're willing to talk to IDMT because I'm sure they have plenty of insight, and you know, like you as the only undergraduate sitting in on those meetings, like it's really hard for the rest of the public to know what's going on. So yeah, that, and also kind of what echoing what Tyra was saying, in terms of like losing access or losing XYZ, or you know, I think that the urgency is such that UCLA should find those funds. And that also the other thing is that if they do, because I know that at some point UCLA had sent this email out being like, okay, these couple PCR testing locations and drop-off sites are not being utilized as much anymore, so we are going to shut them down. And I was like, well, they're not being utilized as much anymore because people aren't testing anymore because people think this is over, and then also because you took away the like weekly testing. Like there, like you know what I mean, like it's all very circuitous. Like there is going to, if you mandate the testing for the surveillance, then there is demand for the testing, but you need to do, you know what I mean, like it all has to be connected first.
Alicia.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, like I think the wastewater tracking has been reduced at UCLA significantly too. So that's also another reason why the PCR tests that are a requirement after COVID is detected have lowered, because UCLA is not doing wastewater tracking, which is a very accurate form of tracking COVID in the community. So that's a very important piece as to why students are using it less. Because when we would get notifications about COVID being in the water, students would get really scared. Like I would get really scared, like when I would get that notification. So especially in like the Hill where there's communal bathrooms and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a really big thing, because it's like obviously these kind of things, like, you know, are scary. I think that a certain amount of fear is very normal for this situation. I don't think that like denying that. Yeah, I think that fear is very normal in this situation, and like the wastewater tracking, as you can see, is being used nationally to a certain extent, right? It already has like reduced in its reporting a certain amount, but what models we do have are not very great. So yes, yeah, that is another resource, right? Right. Okay, thank you, Janice. In the chat, Janice said wastewater tracking is, I believe, another resource that was a federal local government thing. So changes in the policy at that level is why we don't have it accessed anymore. And yes, I think that UCLA, again, to echo what Tyra's saying again, like UCLA has the funds to figure out how to properly do that. So like UCLA kind of like slowly like taking everything away and then being like, well, the reason we're not putting it back is because there are no COVID cases on campus, or like there's not enough. but then they took away all the tracking, most of the tracking. So then it's like, well, of course you don't know if there's a lot because you took away the tracking. So again, like it's a very circuitous thing that can only be solved by implementing all these different avenues, which is definitely where the student body wants support from USAC and advocating to admin directly and kind of like putting that pressure, because people are definitely going to want to drag their feet on this, especially if it's not within their own ideological like range. So this kind of this resolution and this pressure is really important in order to kind of make that actual implementation change, which is falls on USAC and falls on everybody essentially.
Okay, thank you. Any last comments for Gwen before I make her back into an attendee? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Okay, thank you, Gwen, for your time, and I'm gonna put you back as an attendee.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for letting me present this to y'all and including me in this discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Any further discussion? Topics that folks want to raise? Okay. So given the various conversations that I've seen, I've been told about, I've overheard on various platforms, until we have a conversation, which will be happening in the near future on conduct, not only as individuals, but as student groups, as we are commissioners, we are going to have a different motion for tonight's vote on the resolution. So now I'm going to pass it along to who's making the motion. Give it 1 second.
I move to vote on ballot for this resolution.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Sarah motions, Jonathan seconds. All in favor to vote on ballot for this next vote, say, raise your hand. All right, please lower your hands. All against, please raise your hands. All abstain, please raise your hands. All right, with a 12-0 vote, we are going to be voting on ballot for this resolution. Okay. So, advisors, were you able to make the ballot by any chance, or should I do I have access to?
Is there a Zoom poll option?
I don't have the option on my end.
Okay.
I also do not have the option on my end.
Okay. I threw together a quick anonymous form just on the case that was happening. So I'll drop that in the chat.
Appreciate it, Jonathan. And remember, we don't have any proxies here today. Okay. So all voting members will vote with the link that Jonathan will be putting into the chat. Thank you.
Let me know if that works.
I'm sorry, did we use our USAC email or?
Is it asking you to log in?
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to update the permissions. Give it a try now and let me know if you still need permission.
And then Jonathan, there should be 12 votes. Yeah, sorry. Oh, just check that out.
Oh, good. I'm glad we're all, I put that to make sure we were on the same page. The vote is in. I have all 12. It is 7 yes, 4 no, and 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you. And Alicia?
Do you come in to break the tie, Naomi, or did you vote?
I did not vote.
Naomi is not a voting
There's no,
member.
yeah, not a voting member. Okay, so there is no new business and this meeting is adjourned at 8:04 p.m. Thank you for your time.